Alright, welcome back to my commentary of the Arabian Open Masters Tournament, hosted by Rising Empires, so big thanks to Moogtronics and Adico for getting this one going. Actually, I think this is one of Adico's babies, so I guess mainly thank him. But Moogtronics, I think, is the guy that's mainly behind the Low Elo Legends, and the Rising Empires banner sort of combines two of them, plus another regular event in the War Chief Club, so another one of Adico's old tournament circuits. Let's check those out, guys. We've got a few minor tournaments going on for our players, both the high level guys like these two, and for up and comers. So sort of on his French in the purple trunks here on the left side, or Zertin. On his Chinese in the green trunks, the right side of the map. Zertin going for an early village, just got a little bit of extra wood to squeeze out in the mining camp out. Just be able to distance gather another 50 wood later on, probably just off that same tree to save, having to chop down another one in order to get his lumber camp out later. Well, sort of. He's going to have the wood to go for his lumber camp, but go for a fairly typical French Open here. Early on the gold, most villagers on the food. So sort of be probably trying to go for the early knights. Zertin will be equipped to get spearmen and he will transition to the wood. And Zertin might be looking to go for either 1 or 2 TC Song Dynasty just for the insane villager production speed bonus. I mean, French do like to go 2 TC because even in 1 or 2 TC situations against other civs, they're going to have that faster vill producing, other than when the Chinese go for Song Dynasty. But then, the moment the Chinese player does squeeze in Song Dynasty, the French player's always got to sort of try and be a town centre up in order to go even on eco. But it does mean that the French player does get the opportunity to get, I guess, the first hit. In fact, in most matchups, French are generally going to be the first cab off the rank, the one that's generally going to hit first, try and hamper the opponent's eco. I think that's what makes French such a universally annoying civ to play into, because generally, in most matchups, your ideal opening is going to be a little bit safer, a little bit slower than theirs, whereas they're nearly always just going to go for the school cav, early knight, or early horseman, and then play on from there, give themselves a space to go for a second town centre, or play an otherwise really greedy H2, like eco techs, armory techs, all that sort of thing. Chinese, well, Zertin's even going Imperial Academy before Barbican here. So the beauty is this is actually going to mean he does get that little bit of extra tax gold from all of his gatherers in the meantime. And I mean, because he's only going 1 villager, by the time he finishes this, if he was to go Barbican, he'd probably be risking losing the villager to the initial knight, depending on how quickly the French player is trying to cram out that school of cav. Whereas he going the Imperial Academy, he's going to get most of the gold gen he needs. In fact, he's just going to be able to have the resources for the Barbican anyway. Although, I don't know, I'm a bit of a bitch, so I tend to like going for the Barbican first. Sometimes night timing, it's reasonably early, but it's not super early, not out of the ordinary, So I guess Zertin's expecting to get the Barbican up in time, which he will. Because you might be able to squeeze out the knight slightly earlier, it just means that you sort of fuck over your ability to then go for either a second knight or for a transition to a range straight away afterwards. And sort of, he is going to start going for that stone. I was thinking, oh, if he's delaying it any longer than this, he's probably not going to bother, but not going to bother until their first engagement, but I think he's worried Zerton is just going to go for 2 TC Song and really force him to be on the back foot economically. Because right now, Vil production for Zerton is going to start to creep ahead. Sort of. He's only down on Vil production because of the Imperial Official, which, you know, it counts as military pop for whatever the fuck reason. When, unlike a monk unit, they're not going to be able to heal in fights or anything like that, so... I don't know, personally I think they probably should just count as a Vil number. I think that's the problem with AoE4, not necessarily the overlay. In terms of how that's set up. But then at the same time, I don't know, then you've sort of got to fuck around more with taking them off the idle villager tab. It's corner cutting. I don't know. I haven't fiddled with AoE4 modding or anything, so I wouldn't know. It actually seems a lot more complex than in the earlier games. It's sort of, it's now piling up that mixed knight archer comp. Well, Zerton for the moment, he's just making spears, all himself in. Not really worried about ceding map control for the moment. Just making sure he's going to have fairly minimal losses and can secure. He's going to go for a second town center? No, he's not at this stage. And he's sort of pushed, into having to go for one. Because the beauty is, you know, French going 2 TC behind a small force of harassing units. In the other civs, it's a real boon, but against Chinese that's going Song or going 2 TC, it's sort of just a must, basically. So I'm going to start Jugnu production. Not worrying too much about going for that town centre yet, so he's just playing it safe, massing up the army. Sort of has map control. Has that blacksmith, so he's getting the free Blimmery, the free melee damage line upgrade. French players don't have to actually research these as soon as they hit the age up, and they've got a blacksmith that gets granted. So they've already got +1 damage on those knights. Real handy, because if they charge and hit a villager, they only need to follow up with one more attack and then they kill it. So, really quite impactful there. And in a way, I'm surprised the AoE or AoE2 players aren't really keen on textiles, but I suppose it is quite expensive relative to Loom. What it does in the other games, and I think Loom gives like 40% health in AoE2 and AoEO, whereas here I think, what's it give? Oh, it does give 50% actually, it's just that it's so expensive. I think the train time's not much higher than Villager. It's just weird though, I just don't see a lot of use of textiles when, I don't know, I really expected, yeah, AoEO and AoE2 players in particular to get it when Loom is pretty universally encouraged. Because I mean, not saying these guys get housed, but generally it's the thing you research as soon as you get housed for the first time in a game, if you haven't already got it. And if you do want to get it early, you generally do get it early at like 20 or 25 villages and deliberately house yourself while it's researching or putting the resources to other things. So I don't know. I just think they could squeeze it in, particularly players of this caliber, because I think it's very, very useful. But in saying that, these guys aren't even dropping any villages at this stage. So Zerton up a bit in eco pop at the moment, but sort of be finishing the stone gathering there. Looking to go on, going to get a little bit more stone actually, because I guess he's just making sure he's got enough so that when he puts down some towers, he can get arrow attack upgrades or the springald attack upgrades for them straight away. Because otherwise I don't sort of see the benefit to getting this much. Unless he's really intending to go all the way up to 600 stone and go for double town center in this position. If he's really confident that he's kept Zerton on 1 TC long enough that he can, and that Zerton's producing enough that he's sitting in age 2 long enough and not beelining towards castle, that he can afford to go, you know, 3 TC French. He's going to go 1 up here. He's still slowly gathering stone. He's only got about 100. So he's got ranged armor as well as melee damage there. Zerton, in the meanwhile, has ranged damage and ranged armor. So I guess the beauty of the wall-off too is it not only slightly delays the knight, it gives Zerton a bit of a tell as to when it's sneaking past. And, you know, players of Zerton's and sort of Excalibur, really quick players, so probably not going to miss that. Although in saying that, this could be quite deadly. Sort of, is probably going to get a villager or two if he streams onto them, and he will. Zerton very quick to respond there to bring them back, but still running for their lives. That's going to slow down Zerton's food eco a little. So those berries and the gold being zoned now. Zerton should be pretty safe at this second town centre for the moment. Sort of still gathering stone. He must be just looking to get up to 350 with her. Because I suppose it doesn't really impact his eco a huge amount. But then in the meantime, as soon as he banks up a bit of wood and looks over, oh, I only need a little bit more stone. Oh, third town centre. Done. Like I said, if he does end up transitioning to relying on a lot of towers, he'll be able to afford his own arrow slits or springalds, whereas Zerton for the moment, really just starting stone gathering. But it doesn't take an awful lot to actually purchase this, so I mean, sort of has effectively got 200 stone he could have in food and gold. Sort of trolling, seeing if he can interrupt food eco elsewhere now. Pair of spears there for Zerton will be able to dispatch that, and Jugnu versus regular archers is a pretty tough fight, I think. These guys tend to trade really well into basically everything. They tend to be the best archer against knights, the best archer against other archers other than longbows, best archer against man-at-arms other than the mounted ones, which are a lot more expensive, I think. Really quite a versatile unit. Of course, a Terran player is building his marines. Sort of, it's very scary, and so Zerton need to get the spears on the knights to really get insane value when fighting into the French comp. Because I mean, you know, archers for Jugnu, they're sort of a lower value unit for both players, but spears on a knights, you know, it's a lower value for a higher value unit. It's sort of quite mechanically solid himself, so I don't think he'll be looking to throw anything away for free here. The knights, really just a good buffer line then. At the same time, he can't just absorb too much damage, but he does get to reap the benefits of healing on these guys. Zerton punished a little by the fact that the knight is still up the back there. The spears didn't manage to track around that one. So sort of is actually going to go for a hidden tower there. Strategically placed. This will mean the spears need a bit of assistance. A few more of their buddies to come and help burn that down. The villagers to come and help. I don't know if Zerton's going to be wanting to lose too many vills here. He is up on sort of in terms of pop though by vill pop and army pop. Bearing in mind knights, nice expensive 1 pop unit. So the French army value would be pretty comparable to Zerton's. So sort of, meanwhile, second town center, he's up to 300 stone there. I wonder if he is going to go for a third town center here. He's banking a little bit of wood. Otherwise, I think he's spending quite well here at the moment. He can't really fight knight v knight there, and he realizes, so he's going to get those guys out in time. Some nice micro, because he'll be able to heal up those guys, but the villager is going to get picked off. So Zerton going to be able to double down over here. Oh, and because, sort of must have actually used a villager to cut through the wall there. Like, cut down a tree next to the wall and sneak himself and the knight through that second time. So even with the Chinese player up on eco and military pop, I think it's a scary spot for him to be in. He pressure this game for sort of, and he's gotten a bit more value than I think he and Zerton would have expected out of that knight harass there at the top. So now, that's where sort of going to hit Zerton. Going towards his castle age now. Plenty of spears to guard for the knights here. Villagers just waiting to go to the next job. So it looks like they're all going to be woodcutters. Sort of finding a scout, and he tears down a hole in Zerton's wall. Sort of forces him to prep for an attack here. Because now all these villagers are pretty exposed. It's not as though there's walls, another layer of them around here to protect the gold mine or any of the food here. Villager picked off, attempt to go and wall up. So Zerton not wanting to overextend with his death ball there. Same time, 10 spears on this side. Having to back off because there is a lot of archers to zone them, so he's going to have to try and jump on sort of knights here. The peripheral town centre is not as strong as the landmark town centre. Not going to be so easy for Zerton to hold on to there, because it's going to be a lot of units able to chip away at that. So Zerton relying on taking an engagement here. Sort of, it's going to back out because Zerton's got enough there to repel in for now. Jugnu looking very healthy, upgraded with their castle age upgrades. Even with Zerton dropping the town centre here, I think he's got the eco lead he was looking for. In saying that, he's eventually going to have to replace it while both players work towards their late game eco here. Otherwise, it'll be a bit more of a back and forth to go on between now and then. So sort of trying to take out defensive structures and really anything that he can get for free here outside the safety of the Barbican. Those archers will be able to take a nice fight against the Jugnu, I think, because they do outnumber them. They'll be able to work away at the spears. Every little bit will help, sort of. Zerton going to be getting access to Clock Tower Springald soon, so he'll be parking them in the center of his base for the time being. Zerton's attempted vision being denied here. Well, he is looking to try and stream some Palace Guard across. See if he can do a bit of damage to sort of here. Force some towering up, force these squadrons to be pulled back out of position. He's going to start forcing sort of to bring some villagers to retreat. These gold gatherers also going to have to rely on something to give a bit of help. So Zerton, a bit of value out of that. He's now forcing sort of back. At the same time, sort of being cool, calm, and collected on the lower side here. Zerton has some nicely protected STBs there. They're now outside of the archer range, so just have to bring it forward slightly. Which means it's now under threat from the knights, so it might get sniped here. So some crazy fights going on here on both sides of the map. Zerton really kite as much as he can with the Zhug Nu here, but it's tough versus the knights because they will constantly be able to catch up, get an attack off. Keep on chasing, so that and running. His archers just running for their lives there at the moment. And on the lower side, things have also gone sort of his way here. It's been a nice split fight for him into the Chinese player. Still got a couple of sheep. It's looking rough for Zerton. He's down under 40 eco pop wall, sort of. I mean, 40 military pop wall, sort of. 70 eco pop's pretty similar, sort of. Still trailing in that regard, but I think they're both looking pretty solid for eco. But now the imperative is really on Zerton to try and defend this mass of granaried farms here. Zerton will really be able to hold this off with an army only half the size of his opponents. He can afford to bleed a couple of villages while getting this keep up, but he is going to need it to finish off to be able to protect the rest of them at the moment. There's a lot of knights still up. I don't know if there's really a lot of spears or palace guard to try and tank some nested bees. He's going to get singled out. Sort of very careful to not overextend with his archers there. He's going to start whittling away at Zerton's eco with them, while the knights taking the fight against the Zhug Nu. Zerton's eco plummeting now. Sort of really stable on his, and armies on both sides have been decimated, but at the moment, sort of is still at about 50 army pop. So still continuing to stream units in. Zerton hasn't got any straggly units chipping away at sort of's eco at the moment to buy him some pressure either, so is this the death roll that we're seeing here for game number 1? Zerton still gathering up on this top side. He does have that keep, but this is a huge blow to his economy here, and he's still dropping a couple of villages there, sort of. So that's a reasonable chunk of units and a lot more streaming in. It's going to go for a forward keep, start getting siege. I don't know if Zerton's going to be in a position to do the same, even if he can turn the tide of this battle here, but I don't even know if he's got the spear count to really hell the knights. I don't think he's transitioned at all to horsemen or lancers himself to be able to deal with the archers, unless he can get the nested beast on them. But GG, sort of. I just snatch game number 1 with a very, very intricate back and forth there, and a lot of solid trades against Zerton for game number 1.